If life were a movie, Andrew's would be the indie kind. Slow-paced, a bit dark, and probably ending with the credits rolling over a single tear. His mom was seriously ill. His dad wasn't winning any parenting awards. And at school, well, let's just say Andrew was more Target than teen heartthrob. One day, Andrew decided to film everything with his old camcorder. It wasn't because his life was exciting. It was more like he wanted to leave some proof he existed. Then his cousin Matt, who was the chill but philosophical type, decided to drag Andrew out of his cave. "Come to this rave," Matt said. "It'll be fun," he said. Spoiler, it wasn't. That's when Steve, the school's all-star quarterback and walking pep rally, found him outside. Steve, being the cool guy he was, invited Andrew to check out something weird he and Matt had found in the woods. And just like that, Andrew's night took a turn. They ended up at this random hole in the ground where something big and glowing was just there. It looked like a crystal from some sci-fi movie, humming with energy. Naturally, the boys got curious, but when they got too close, the thing started glowing red, and they all felt like they'd been hit with a cosmic headache. Andrew's camera cut out, but let's just say that moment was the start of something big. A few weeks later, Andrew, Matt, and Steve discovered they had powers. Real, actual powers. They could move stuff with their minds, and when they practiced, their abilities got stronger. Matt compared it to working out, which sounded great, until Andrew got a little too creative with his powers, like the time he nudged a car off the road. It didn't hurt anyone, but it was a wake-up call for Matt and Steve. They laid down some ground rules: no messing with people, and definitely no using powers recklessly. Then they figured out they could fly. Fly. Suddenly, they weren't just three kids with problems. They were three kids soaring through the clouds, literally. It was the kind of moment that made them feel unstoppable. Andrew even started talking about visiting Tibet, where everything seemed peaceful and calm. For a second, it looked like things might actually turn around for him. Steve, ever the optimist, encouraged Andrew to join the school talent show. Andrew disguised his powers as magic tricks, and the crowd loved it. For once, Andrew was the center of attention in a good way. At the after party, he was the life of the room, until a mix of nerves and bad timing turned his big moment into a disaster. It wasn't anything crazy, but it was enough to send Andrew spiraling back into his shell. Things got darker from there. Andrew started using his powers more aggressively, not to hurt anyone outright, but to assert himself. His frustration boiled over one night when his dad confronted him about his mom's worsening condition. Andrew lashed out, unintentionally sending a ripple of pain to Matt and Steve. Steve, worried about his friend, found Andrew floating in the middle of a thunderstorm. But when Steve tried to talk him down, lightning struck, literally. Steve didn't make it, and Andrew was left shattered. At Steve's funeral, Matt confronted Andrew, suspecting there was more to the story. Andrew denied everything, but privately visited Steve's grave, whispering apologies into the wind. From then on, Andrew drifted further from Matt, retreating into his own world. His powers became a shield, and he started to see himself as untouchable, a step above, as he put it. When his mom's condition took a turn for the worse, Andrew used his abilities to get money for her medicine. It wasn't exactly legal, but he convinced himself it was justified. During one attempt, an accident caused an explosion, landing Andrew in the hospital. His dad, overwhelmed with grief, blamed Andrew for everything. But when his dad tried to confront him, Andrew's powers exploded outward, sending shockwaves through the building. Matt, who had been trying to move on with his life, felt a sudden, familiar pull, like an unspoken connection to Andrew. He turned on the news and saw the chaos unfolding at the hospital. Racing to the scene, Matt found Andrew, now fully consumed by his powers and his pain. Andrew wasn't just angry, he was lost, lashing out at a world he felt had abandoned him. Matt tried to reason with him, but Andrew wouldn't listen. Their powers clashed as they flew through the city, their fight leaving a trail of chaos. Andrew's anger spiraled out of control, and it became clear he couldn't or wouldn't stop. In a final heart-wrenching moment, Matt made the only choice he could to protect everyone else. Using a nearby statue as a makeshift tool, he stopped Andrew, leaving him at peace at last. In the aftermath, Matt fled the scene, his heart heavy with loss. Later, he traveled to Tibet, bringing Andrew's camera with him. Standing before a serene monastery, Matt spoke to the camera as if Andrew could hear him. "You made it," he said softly before flying off into the horizon, leaving the camera behind to capture the stillness Andrew had always wanted.